Hello and welcome to Reality TV News Update, where you'll find the most recent news, entertaining moments, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. The Bachelorette star Jonathon Johnson is finally in a relationship. He appears to be dating a well-known Big Brother contestant, and they appear to be the hottest new couple. Fans are obsessed with this as they have been wanting Jonathon to find love. They are obsessed with him from his time on Gen Trans season of The Bachelorette. Continue reading to learn more about this circumstance. He did not enjoy his time on The Bachelorette. Jonathon Johnson is known for his time on The Bachelorette. He was on Gen Trans season. By arriving covered in bandages, he made an impression. He did, however, remain until the very end of the game. When Jen sent him home, he was devastated. However, he and Jen maintained good relations after the season ended. During her time on Dancing with the Stars, he was at her side. They were nothing more than friends at the time, and fans loved seeing them be close. Jen was very happy about this because they were able to keep their friendship despite Jonathon's broken heart. Since then, fans have wanted him to find love. He is finally taken by Big Brother star. Hot new couple. Morgan Willett, a contestant on Big Brother, is now dating Jonathon Johnson. The two have made their relationship official on Instagram, and their fans adore them. The two posted that it was worth the wait. Morgan, on the other hand, made a kind comment on her Instagram story. As someone who has spent years being the third wheel to my sis and her BF, whom I love so much, to finally add someone to the gang and end our trip with pizza, board games, and good convo. Fans showed their love for the new couple in the comments. They shared a lot of pictures together, and it appears as though they are more content than ever. Morgan and Jonathon appear to be happy together. Before they made the announcement, it appeared that they had been dating for a brief moment. Fans love seeing both of them happy and hope that they last. Given his previous misfortunes, Jonathon is deserving of his happily ever after. Regardless, he made sure fans knew that he was waiting for this all along. What do you think of the current circumstance? Is it surprising that they are dating? Please let us know in the section below. We would love to hear your thoughts on this matter. The summer air surrounding the iconic Big Brother house always carried a certain amount of electricity, the promise of unexpected connections, tension, and anticipation. However, Jonathon Johnson, a quiet but sharp-minded contestant, found himself at the center of the most talked-about romance of the season, and even seasoned viewers were unprepared for what would follow. With a clear plan, Jonathon entered the house, stay under the radar, form subtle alliances, and strike when the time was right. He was not the strongest competitor or the loudest voice in the room. Instead, he relied on observation. He observed how alliances changed, how emotions often became the game's biggest weakness, and how people interacted. For the first few weeks, Jonathon stuck to his plan. He formed a loose alliance with a few house guests, participated just enough in group conversations to remain likable, and avoided the chaos that often swallowed bigger personalities. But everything began to change the night a new twist introduced a returning fan favorite, Alyssa Monroe. Alyssa wasn't just any player. She was charismatic, confident, and had a reputation for both strategic brilliance and emotional intelligence. The moment she walked through the door, the house dynamic shifted. Conversations paused, alliances recalculated, and suddenly everyone was trying to figure out where Alyssa would land. However, Jonathon did not rush to approach her. He observed, just as he always did. It was during a late-night conversation in the backyard that their connection truly began. Jonathon and Alyssa were alone in the dim light of the outdoor lights, while the majority of the house guests were inside debating nominations. What started as casual small talk quickly turned into something deeper. They discussed their fears, goals, and the strange experience of constantly being watched outside of the game. Alyssa noticed something different about Jonathon. He wasn't trying to get her to like him. He wasn't playing up his personality for attention. He was simply real. She once told him one night, "Most people in here are playing a version of themselves, but you're just you." Jonathon laughed. "Maybe that's my plan." From that moment on, their bond grew stronger. They started spending more time together, helping each other through the stress of competitions, making meals, whispering strategies at night. What began as mutual respect gradually transformed into something more intimate. The house began to notice. At first, it was subtle, sarcastic remarks and knowing glances, but soon it became impossible to ignore. Jonathon and Alyssa were becoming the season's unquestionable duo. It was viewed as a threat by some house guests, who referred to them as a power couple that needed to be broken up. Others admired their connection, even rooting for them despite the competitive nature of the game. The turning point came during a crucial head of household competition. Jonathon, who had yet to win a major challenge, surprised everyone by securing the victory. As he stood there, key in hand, the weight of the game finally rested on his shoulders. All eyes turned to him and then to Alyssa. Would he safeguard her? Would he risk his game for their relationship? That night, Jonathon faced the hardest decision of his journey. Aligning with Alyssa openly would paint a massive target on both their backs. However, separating himself could undermine their mutual trust. In the end, Jonathon chose honesty. He delivered a speech at the nomination ceremony that would set the tone for both his relationship and his game. "I came into this house with a plan to play quietly," he began, "but sometimes the unexpected changes everything. I've made connections here that are more important than just strategy, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise." He did not name Alyssa directly, but the message was clear. Jonathon and Alyssa were no longer hiding. They embraced their partnership, both in the game and beyond it. They strategized together, competed fiercely, and supported each other through every twist and turn. Of course, their openness made them targets. Other guests at the house tried to break them up week after week. They were nominated, backdoored, and tested in ways that pushed their bond to their limits. But each time they found a way to survive. Sometimes through competition wins, other times through clever strategy. What made their story so compelling wasn't just the romance, it was the balance. They weren't blinded by their feelings. They challenged each other, debated moves, and made tough calls when necessary. Their connection became a strength rather than a weakness. As the finale approached, the house had been whittled down to just a few remaining players. Jonathon and Alyssa stood among them, having defied the odds and outlasted countless attempts to eliminate them. One quiet evening, just days before the final competition, they sat together in the backyard, the same place where it had all begun. "No matter what happens," Alyssa said softly, "this was worth it." Jonathon gave a nod. "Yeah, I came here to play a game. However, I discovered something unexpected." "Me?" he grinned. "You." Their journey inside the Big Brother house had become more than just a competition. It was a story of trust, vulnerability, and the courage to embrace something real in an environment built on deception. And as the cameras faded and the doors finally opened, Jonathon and Alyssa walked out not just as competitors, but as something far more memorable. The season's
Cameras never truly sleep inside the Big Brother house. Every whisper, every glance, every heartbeat of tension becomes part of a story watched by millions. But even in a place built on strategy and suspicion, something genuine can still break through. And that's exactly what happened when Jonathon Johnson finally let his guard down. From day one, Jonathon was different. Jonathon chose patience over bold personalities and louder strategies when others came in. He didn't want to take over conversations or be the center of attention. He listened instead. He got it. He changed. He was approachable because of his calm demeanor, but he was also easy to underestimate, a mistake that many house guests would later regret. Jonathon engaged in an almost flawless social game for weeks. He floated between alliances, never fully committing but never appearing untrustworthy either. He was liked by many. They were at ease around him, but no one truly knew where his loyalties lay. That is, until she entered, Samantha Reyes, a house guest who arrived late and changed everything, was the season's twist. Samantha was more than just a player. She was daring, captivating and completely unafraid to shake the house to its foundation. She had already sparked tension, curiosity, and admiration within hours of entering. Jonathon noticed her right away, but he didn't rush to impress her like the others did. Their connection, on the other hand, began quietly. It was during a late-night moment in the kitchen. After an exhausting day of competitions and arguments, the majority of the household had gone to bed. Jonathon was making a simple snack when Samantha walked in, unable to sleep. What began as a casual exchange quickly turned into something deeper. Leaning against the counter, Samantha said, "You're not like the others." Jonathon grinned. "I could say the same about you." At that precise moment, there was no game, there was no plan, just two people, stripped of pretense, finding something real in a house built on illusions. Their connection grew naturally from that point on. They started spending more time together, morning coffee chats, shared glances during tense ceremonies, quiet conversations under the backyard lights. Unlike the flashy showmances that often define the game, theirs felt different. It was not hurried. It wasn't forced. It was constant. However, in Big Brother's world, nothing is kept a secret for long. The other guests at the house began to notice. It started out as subtle joking. The whispers then started. It quickly developed into a legitimate concern. A powerful couple in the house was dangerous, especially one that was based on trust rather than convenience. "They're getting too close," one contestant warned during a strategy meeting. "It's over if we don't split 'em now." Soon after, Samantha and Jonathon became targets. The pressure tested them in ways neither had expected. They were jointly nominated, forced to compete against one another in campaigns, and frequently questioned about their commitment to the game and to one another. For Jonathon, it was a turning point. He had spent weeks playing it safe, staying in the shadows, but now he had something worth stepping into the spotlight for. Jonathon won head of household during one of the season's most intense weeks. It was both his moment of truth and his moment of control. Would he protect Samantha and risk his own game, or would he cut ties to survive? The entire house waited for his decision. The tension at the nomination ceremony was impenetrable. The anticipation was evident in the expressions. Glances between Jonathon and Samantha were fleeting. Before speaking, Jonathon took a deep breath. "I came into this house thinking the best way to win was to stay detached," he began. "But I've learned that strategy is just as important as real connections." He paused, glancing at Samantha. "I'm not going to pretend that doesn't matter to me," he stated. The room fell silent. In that moment, Jonathon made it clear. He wasn't just playing the game anymore. He was playing with his heart. From then on, everything changed. Jonathon and Samantha stopped hiding their bond. They embraced it, openly supporting each other, working together in competitions, and navigating the game as a united front. Their chemistry became undeniable, their partnership unbreakable. Fans watching at home quickly fell in love with them. Social media buzzed with excitement, dubbing them the season's hot new couple. They became a must-see on television for every moment they shared, from funny jokes to heartfelt conversations. But inside the house, the target on their backs only grew larger. Week after week, they faced elimination. Alliances crumbled around them. Friends turned into rivals. But they managed to survive thanks to decisive victories in the competition, clever planning, and unwavering faith in one another. What made their story so compelling wasn't just the romance, it was the resilience. They argued, they disagreed, they had to make impossible decisions, but their respect for one another never diminished. They prevailed in a game made to tear people apart. As the finale approached, only a handful of house guests remained. One last time, Jonathon and Samantha sat side by side in the backyard with the night sky above them. "Did you ever think this would happen?" Samantha asked softly. Jonathon gave a head shake. "Not even close." "Any regrets?" He looked at her, a small smile forming. "None." That response said it all. The final night was full of excitement. The journey had come to its final moments, but for many watching, the winner almost felt secondary.
because Jonathan Johnson had already won an unexpected prize regardless of the outcome. He was determined to remain emotionally detached when he entered the Big Brother house as a quiet strategist, but he walked out as half of the season's most talked about couple, a man who proved that even in the most calculated game, love can still find a way. And as Jonathan and Samantha stepped out into the real world together, hand in hand, one thing was clear. This wasn't just a one-night stand. This was the beginning of something real.